You know, when I painted this piece, it was on one of those rare summer days when the light in my studio felt exactly like the light I remember from childhood storms when I was growing up on the Alberta prairies. And I think I was probably about 8 years old the first time I remember experiencing a storm like this. And I was staying with my grandma, and we were picking wildflowers, and she had this simple mason jar that she used for a vase. And there we were filling it with whatever caught our eye, and then the sky just changed. In one instant, one moment it was this beautiful clear blue sky, and the next it was this incredible wall of deep purple gray clouds that were rolling and tumbling toward us like something alive and something definitely on a mission. And this deep rumbling threatened overhead. And like most kids, I was terrified, and I turned to my grandma for comfort, and there she was, calm, feet firmly planted, and she just looked up with a look of reverence and awe, and certainly no fear. And that moment stuck with me. It wasn't until I was painting this piece that it hit me decades later that this is what power looks like when it's not afraid of itself. And that moment changed something inside me. I learned that storms aren't something to hide from, they are something to witness. When I started this painting, I thought I was just trying to capture this memory on canvas. But as my brush moved across the canvas, something deeply more personal emerged. See these wildflowers? They are not just surviving the storm, they're celebrating it. Look how they lean in the wind, how their colors become even more vibrant against that dramatic sky. And those clouds, I spent weeks trying to get these clouds right. Layer after layer of paint, building that sense of movement and trying to capture that electric energy that you can feel in your bones when a storm is approaching. And I wanted you to almost hear that rumble of thunder when you look at it like I remembered it as a child. And you see this little blue house. This took on a whole personal meaning for me. One afternoon when I was painting, I had this feeling of being particularly vulnerable about whether I should or shouldn't share my art with the world. And then I realized something. Looking at this little house, there it was, this tiny beacon of strength, reminding me that we can be both the shelter and the wild at the same time. And what surprised me most was realizing that this landscape was really transforming into a self-portrait. This is what it looked and felt like inside me when I finally stopped running from my own creative storms. Here's what I want you to think about in this painting. It's not asking you to weather the storm. It's asking you to remember that you are the storm. You are all that power, all that beauty, all that wild energy you see in the sky. That's not separate from you. That's the part of you that's been waiting patiently for permission to be unleashed. I spent 40 of my years believing that my job was to be this little house, safe, contained, providing shelter and needs to everyone else. And there is beauty and honor in that. But what I discovered when I picked up my paintbrush again was that I could be the house and the storm, grounded and wild, rooted and free, gentle and fierce. So as you look at Unleash Fury, I'd love for you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to stop apologizing for your own storms? What would change if you saw your intensity, your passion, your wild energy not as something to manage, but something to celebrate? Because the world doesn't need you smaller. It needs you unleashed. This is where the wild begins. You're a beautiful soul. Right here, in this moment, you can remember your own magnificent power. Until next time, bye for now.
For more stories and inspiration, visit sjborasfineart.com. Explore more originals, prints, and custom commissions.